Quick question for you. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word protein?
Probably chicken breast, or maybe a protein shake with that chalky taste you can't quite get rid of.
Exactly. Somewhere along the way, protein stopped being just a nutrient and became a kind of obsession. You see it on every food label, every fitness ad, even in cereals that proudly say high in protein, as if that's all that matters.
Yeah, and it's funny because growing up, nobody I knew talked about protein. People talked about dinner, not macronutrients.
So today, we're asking, have we gone too far? Are we a little too fixated on protein?
And to be clear, we're not here to bash it. Protein's essential. It builds muscle, helps repair tissues, and keeps us full. The question is more about the culture around it. The way it's turned from something natural into something we chase, almost fearfully, like if we don't hit our daily target, we've failed.
Exactly. I remember once a friend told me she panicked because she'd only eaten 45 grams of protein that day. I asked, "But did you enjoy your meal?" And she looked at me like that wasn't the point.
And that right there says a lot. Somewhere between health and hype, we lost balance.
So, in this episode, we'll explore how this obsession started, why it feels so powerful, and what a healthy, realistic relationship with protein might look like.
And along the way, we'll also talk about a few useful English expressions connected to food, health, and habits. So you can pick up natural language while thinking about something that touches all of us.
Let's start by rewinding a little to when the protein craze first began.
So, where did this whole protein obsession come from? It didn't just appear overnight.
Not at all. A lot of it started with fitness culture. The idea that more protein equals more muscle. Gyms, supplements, fitness influencers, they all played a part. And it made sense at first. Protein is important for muscle recovery.
But somewhere along the way, it turned into a belief that you can't be healthy without measuring every gram.
Exactly. Suddenly, people were walking around with protein bars in their bags, drinking shakes between meetings, even tracking their macros before bed.
Yeah, and you hear phrases like hit your protein goal or get your protein fix. That word, fix, is interesting, right? It's like it's something addictive.
True. And it's funny, because when you ask most people how much protein they actually need, they're not sure. They just assume more must be better,
Which isn't always the case. Our bodies can only use so much at once. The rest just becomes expensive fuel.
or expensive snacks.
Exactly, and what's wild is how marketing played into it. Brands realized that adding the word protein to anything made it sound healthier. Protein cookies, protein chips, protein pancakes.
Even ice cream. I once saw protein ice cream that had maybe 3 extra grams of protein and twice the price.
And people bought it because the label made it sound like a better choice.
It's kind of like when we started chasing low fat in the 90s or sugar free in the 2000s. Each decade has its food hero.
Right now, that hero is protein.
But here's the thing, when one nutrient becomes the star, we often forget the rest of the story.
Exactly. Food isn't just numbers, it's culture, memory, comfort. But when you're busy calculating grams, it's easy to lose the joy of simply eating.
And that's where language can tell us something. Think about the phrase balanced diet, balanced. It doesn't say protein packed or low carb. It means variety, proportion, harmony.
I love that because balance is what we often overlook when we're chasing the latest health rule.
So maybe the real question isn't, are you getting enough protein? But are you enjoying food as a whole?
You know, Tom, I actually went through my own protein phase. Really? You?
Yeah, it was a few years ago. I'd started working out more, and everyone around me was talking about protein powders and grams per meal. I downloaded an app, tracked everything I ate, and it worked for a while. I felt disciplined, which I thought meant healthy.
But I'm guessing that feeling didn't last.
Not at all. It became exhausting. I remember sitting in a restaurant once, staring at the menu, thinking, there's no way this meal will have enough protein. I couldn't just eat.
That sounds stressful.
It was. And that's the irony. What started as a way to take care of myself ended up making food feel like math homework.
I can relate. I had a friend who took a protein shake everywhere. Literally, on a plane, on a walk, even at dinner with friends. It was like a security blanket.
Right? It's interesting how quickly something healthy can turn into something obsessive.
Yeah. There's this English phrase, take it too far. It means something starts off good but becomes extreme. And that's what happens when we get fixated on one part of health.
Exactly. You can take it too far, and the whole point gets lost.
It reminds me of how we talk about fuel for the body. People say food is fuel, which is true, but it's also comfort, culture, memory, connection.
Yes. When I think of food, I think of my grandmother's soup. She never said the word protein in her life, but her meals were full of balance and care.
That's such a beautiful image because it shows how eating well used to mean something simple: listening to your body, sharing food, enjoying it.
And yet today, we often eat with guilt. We measure, compare, worry. Even the word fixated sounds tense, like your mind is stuck on one idea, unable to relax.
Yeah, it's like you can't see the bigger picture anymore.
So maybe part of growing up or growing wiser is learning when to care and when to let go.
That's a really good line. Learning when to care and when to let go.
Because if caring turns into anxiety, it's no longer healthy.
You know what's interesting? The obsession with protein also reveals something about how we see progress.
How do you mean?
Well, we live in a world that loves measurable results: steps, calories, likes, followers, and protein fits perfectly into that mindset. It's a number you can track, something that says you're doing it right.
That's so true. It's comforting, isn't it? Numbers give you a sense of control. You can say, I hit my goal today, and feel proud. But the flip side is that it turns food, and even health, into a competition.
Yeah, it's like the phrase keeping score. We start keeping score with our bodies as if there's a winner and a loser.
And the strange thing is, sometimes people who seem the most disciplined are actually the most anxious about food.
Exactly. You can be physically healthy but mentally exhausted.
That's something we don't talk about enough. Because language around health often sounds aggressive. Smash your goals, crush your macros, burn the fat.
Yeah, it's all action verbs: smash, burn, crush. It's like a battle with yourself.
But what if being healthy didn't have to sound like a fight? What if it sounded more like listening?
I love that. Listening instead of fighting.
Listening to hunger, to energy, to emotions. Because the body gives signals all the time. You don't need an app to tell you when you're hungry.
True. It's funny how the word nourish has kind of disappeared from how we talk about food. You don't hear people say, I want to nourish myself. They say, I need more protein.
And nourish is such a gentle word. It means to feed, to care for, to help something grow. It's not about control, it's about kindness.
That's such an important shift, from control to care, from perfection to presence.
And I think that's what many people are missing. Not the nutrients, but the peace that comes from trusting themselves again.
Yeah, because the real goal isn't to be perfectly fueled, it's to feel balanced, strong, and free from constant worry.
Maybe that's the real meaning of being healthy. You know, Tom, I think part of why protein became such a big deal is because it represents effort.
Effort?
Yeah, think about it. People who say, I need to get my protein in, usually sound like they're working on themselves. It signals discipline, self control, a kind of moral success.
Ah, right. Like saying, I'm taking care of myself, but in numbers.
Exactly. And that's not necessarily bad. It's great when people want to eat mindfully, but sometimes it becomes a way to prove your worth.
That's deep. It's like food has turned into a personality trait.
Yeah, there's an English expression, you are what you eat. It used to mean that food affects your health, but now it almost means you're judged by what you eat.
Totally. Order a burger, and someone says, oh, you're having that? Choose a salad, and you're suddenly the healthy one. It's crazy how food choices carry labels beyond the menu.
And especially with social media, pictures of smoothie bowls, protein pancakes, gym meals. It's not just about nourishment anymore. It's about image,
Right. Like if you post a photo of an omelet with hashtag high protein, it's a badge of dedication.
which again isn't evil. It can be motivating, but it also pressures people who just want to eat normally without turning every meal into a performance.
I remember once a friend told me she felt guilty eating pasta because she'd seen so many posts about low carb, high protein diets. And she said, I know it's silly, but I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
That word, guilty, breaks my heart. Food shouldn't make us feel guilty.
Yeah, I think we forget that eating is one of the oldest joys humans have. It's not just fuel, it's a social ritual, a daily pleasure.
And ironically, the more we talk about healthy eating, the more anxious many people become about what they're eating.
That's true. Which brings us back to the question of fixation. When something good becomes your main focus, it stops being good.
Exactly. It's like shining a spotlight so bright that it blinds you.
So maybe the real goal isn't more protein, it's more perspective.
I love that. More perspective.
So, Mia, if we're saying we shouldn't be fixated on protein, what does a healthy approach actually look like?
Good question. I think it starts with curiosity instead of control. Asking things like, how does this make me feel? Rather than, is this enough protein?
Yeah, it's like learning to trust your body's feedback instead of chasing a number.
Exactly. And that's not easy, especially if you've been following strict diet advice for years. But there's something freeing about eating with awareness instead of fear.
Awareness, that's a key word. It's about noticing. Like, I feel more energetic when I eat eggs for breakfast, or I sleep better when I don't overthink dinner.
Right. That kind of gentle observation is far more sustainable than strict counting.
You know what phrase fits perfectly here? Listen to your body. It's simple, but it's one of the hardest things to actually do.
Totally. Because listening means slowing down, and most of us are used to rushing. We eat while working, scrolling, even driving.
Yeah, eating has become another task to get done.
Exactly. And language shows that too. We say, grab a bite, eat on the go, meal prep. Everything sounds fast, efficient, almost mechanical.
But imagine replacing that with share a meal or enjoy breakfast. It changes the whole energy.
I love that. Because food is emotional. It connects us to people, memories, even comfort. And when we slow down, we notice those connections again.
Maybe that's the secret. To stop treating food like data and start treating it like a dialogue.
A dialogue between body, mind, and moment.
That's beautifully said. And once you do that, you realize that your body already knows balance. It's been doing this for millions of years, long before we had apps or protein calculators.
Yes, the human body is wise. It doesn't need perfection, it needs patience.
So maybe the goal isn't to eat perfectly, but to eat peacefully.
Peacefully. I like that a lot. You know, Tom, the more we talk about this, the more I realize how our attitude toward food mirrors how we treat ourselves.
Absolutely. If we approach food with fear, we probably approach other parts of life that way too. Always measuring, always comparing.
But when we eat with trust, with gratitude, it's like we're saying to ourselves, I'm enough. I don't need to prove anything today.
That's powerful. It reminds me of the phrase, food for thought. Usually it means something that makes you think, but here it's almost literal. The way we think about food feeds how we feel about ourselves.
I love that. Because when we focus less on restriction and more on connection, eating becomes a joy again, a shared moment.
Yeah, maybe that's why some of the happiest meals I've ever had weren't particularly healthy. They were just shared with good people, good laughter, and no guilt.
Same here. Like that night with friends when the conversation lasted longer than the food. That's nourishment too.
Exactly, and that brings us back to our big question. Are we too fixated on protein?
Maybe yes, maybe no. But what's certain is that when any one thing, protein, carbs, calories, takes over the whole picture, we miss what really matters.
Which is living well, not just eating well.
So if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this: aim for balance, not obsession. Feed your body, yes, but also your joy, your peace, your connection to others.
That's the kind of health that lasts.
Exactly. And as always, thank you for listening and learning with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a moment at your next meal to slow down, taste, and simply be present.
And if you learned some new English phrases or ideas, even better. Because here on Easylish, we believe real language learning and real living happens when you stop chasing perfection and start connecting.
Couldn't have said it better. Until next time, eat with kindness, speak with confidence, and stay curious.
See you soon, everyone.